This week we've had a big legal week. I don't know. I kind of want to start with the New York case with Donald Trump because his sentencing got pushed back. And we have different views on this actually, because I think it was better this way, that there was nothing that Judge Merchan could be kind of accused of in terms of inserting politics into the case, or giving Trump any ammunition to say that this was election interference, that he was being sentenced or jailed or whatever it may be before the election. But you have a different opinion.
I think that Merchan should have sentenced Donald Trump on September 18th. I mean, I know we haven't gotten to that date yet, but I think he should have done it. I think that he actually did, ironically, interject politics into his decision.
By taking into account
politics. Taking into account the fact that we are so close to Election Day. And I think that it sent a message, and the wrong one, that there was something of value or validity to that Supreme Court immunity decision that would give anyone cause for pause. So I think it was a bigger kind of disservice that maybe I'm being too harsh because I am a fan of Judge Merchan. I think he's handled this case impeccably since day one, and he's had opportunities to either slam Trump or to call out Trump, and he hasn't. He's been really measured. But he's, calling balls and strikes like he's supposed to as a judge. And I feel like he actually wrote in his ruling that, he didn't want to create any type of treatment of Donald Trump like he was a different defendant, and yet he did.
Right.
I don't want to, be mean to you, or what is it? How people say, not to be rude, but
respectfully.
You're rude, or with respect, Your Honor, and there's no respect. So I just kind of feel like when you're reading that, you're like, look. And I also think there should be a little bit of blame apportioned to the Manhattan DA's office. Again,
they didn't oppose it. They
Alvin
didn't
Bragg,
oppose it.
and I think his office did an amazing job in this case. It's just, what are you saying? You take a position. Take a position.
Right.
Say that there is no immunity. Say that this guy should be sentenced. I mean, the politicization of this has been done by Trump no matter what happens. You could literally give the man every accommodation and he's still going to accuse you falsely of being politically persecuted through the judicial system. So why give the guy any quarter? I would not give him any quarter.
I thought it was insane, by the way, that the DA's office didn't oppose really the Trump immunity thing, because the minuscule amount of evidence that could even plausibly be fall into the protected sphere of kind of official acts was the tweets. And to think that the tweets that Trump sent about Stormy Daniels or anything else was the catalyst that got him convicted is just nuts.
So I'll clear the record just a little bit, though. The Manhattan DA's office does oppose the arguments that the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court affords Trump a dismissal of the indictment or the ability to set aside the jury's verdict. What they didn't take a position on was adjournment or delay of sentencing.
But they could have made that
argument. Yes, they could have. And I think that the problem is you saw Trump then basically bootstrap the silence from the DA's office in a way to support him getting his delay, right? And I get it. I know that the sentencing will happen. I don't believe that the jury verdict's going to be set aside by Judge Merchan, and I don't think Merchan's going to dismiss the indictment on this idea of immunity. But I just feel like there should be more that is done to honor the norms of our judicial system. The norms have been destroyed by Trump. And because of that, there should be a concerted kind of almost conscious effort to get us back on track. And in my opinion, humble as it is, it would have been Merchan following the process and actually sentencing Trump along the deadlines. Because remember, he had given them the delay. They asked for the delay to be able to brief the immunity. It was given. There was no objection from the DA's office to give them the time. So if you allow them to brief it and it's briefed, and then you move the sentencing from July to freaking September 18th, sentence the guy, then let him stay out of custody if you really think that it affects his political ability. And yet we heard throughout the duration of this case, even during the trial, that the election considerations weren't going to play into, a factor. They weren't going to be a factor for consideration, yet I kind of feel like now it is.
Actually, I agree with you, and you've changed my mind slightly on this because
I was a persuasive
because what I want to say is, if he had been sentenced to jail and then he was like, Judge Merchan was like, actually, I'm sentencing you, but I'm going to defer it pending the election so you can continue to campaign. So you can continue to go on the campaign trail.
Isn't that kind of what he's doing?
Well,
isn't that
But if he had sentenced them and then was been like, but I'm going to stay the sentence. We don't do this for anyone else, but I'm going to, stay the sentence so that you can go campaign.
You, my friend, are a convert now, because that's what I'm trying to say. I feel like he kind of undercut all of like the conscious work that he did along the way of being apolitical, appropriately so. I feel like then he gets to this critical kind of juncture in time, and all he had to do was say, I'm going to move forward. And you know what? They were going to appeal anyway, right? When he denied the motion to dismiss on the 16th of September, you knew that Trump was going to run to get an appeal. Our good friend Joyce Vance does make a good argument that maybe Trump would have gone to the Supreme Court and it would have messed up who ends up kind of dealing with this. But I still feel like Merchan would have left this unscathed. And I think
and he would have had his coda. He would have had his last word. He'd been like, look, while it was in my jurisdiction, I've had the case. I brought it to the end. Right. And I'm washing my hands of it maybe if the Supreme Court gets it. But I think actually, I do agree with you now that if he had been, and this is the problem that we have, is every time I talk to you, I end up agreeing with you.
That's not true. That's not true.
Well, 9 times out of 10. But if he had taken a step to sentence him to jail and then pulled back, or even if he made the point that like you'll be out on appeal anyway, so what does it matter? You'll still be able to campaign. It's not election interference if you're still doing all your campaign matters. It's not locking you up before the election. Go do your thing, and if you win, hey, good luck to you.
And you know what's the tell here? Is you didn't see Donald Trump do a truth, whatever that stupid thing is that he does. You didn't see him go to his platform and say, look at Merchan doing the right thing and honoring the, whatever. And like, you didn't see him say that. You didn't see him say, oh, look at Merchan, kind of whatever. He went and he just did that stupid stuff he always does about how it's a witch hunt. And that's my point. It's an old, tired refrain of a song that we all hate to listen to, but that's because he's an unoriginal guy. And that's why if you're going to say it's a politicized witch hunt anyway, then just do your job and just move ahead with the case. Exactly. I mean, that's why I'm frustrated that we don't have our sentencing on the 18th.
You think he'll be jailed?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
He's getting jail. 34 felonies, he's getting jail. Even if it's country club jail, he's getting jail.
Okay, but if it's country club, okay, well, two things. There's the possibility of the country club jail. There's also, how about if it's like deferred and he doesn't have to serve any time?
Well, then he should have done it now. I firmly believed if you were going to allow him to defer it before he had to serve any time, do it now. But if he loses in November, then what's the deferral for? What's the deference and any to be paid to this guy? None. I mean, you look so troubled by this.
I'm not troubled by it. I'm just trying to figure out I don't know. Who knows? I feel like I just feel like the fact that he delayed it makes me wonder if he is going to sentence Trump particularly harshly.
Oh, so you think that the delay actually inures to the benefit of Trump, not just because it's delayed, but because he's going to be getting a more lenient
sentence? Is Merchan
sentence?
having second thoughts? Is he being no, you don't think that?
No, Merchan's not that way. He doesn't roll that way. I just think that what's happening here is he does have a sensitivity. Merchan, not being a political judge, has a sensitivity to politics, though, and he's trying to eliminate that component. But my problem is this. Again, it's reason and being rational, and that doesn't exist in Trump world. Right? Think about the arguments that you and I have witnessed when we've been in court. Think about the things we've read from these filings. These are things that are wild, insane, and crazy, and yet somebody's putting their bar number and their signature on these filings and putting them in court.
Well, Alina Hubbard did that in the E. Jean Carroll case.
Whatever, so. Alina still won't come and do my show.
I know, it's very rude. She should have. She said she would. She said she was happy to do any show, and she still has not. Have you tried booking her?
Oh, I'm persona non grata in Trump world. Like, they're never.
Oh no, I know they don't want to be on your show. But Alina did say she would do any show. So we're still waiting.
She complains about not being on TV.
You could put her on, the number one legal show on the weekend on MSNBC. I don't see why she wouldn't do it.
I don't know.